All right. Fantastic. Okay. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is the Jeff and Josh podcast. I'm finding my way around here. Welcome to the show. This is episode number 4. We're going to get into some pretty interesting stories. Some of the stories that we're going to cover, a brand new one breaking. I don't know if I put it into the title. Yeah, it didn't get into the title as of yet, but this one I definitely want to cover is number one. A fight starts in the Senate, and who else stops it?
Matt Gaetz.
Bernie Sanders. We got to get into that. We got to watch the video for that. We're going to talk about Elon Musk showing off Tesla Cybertruck at F1 race in Austin. He's saying it's the most impressive roaming billboard on the planet.
I might have to get one of those.
And then New York Governor Kathy Hochul announces the state has started conducting special media surveillance efforts to monitor hate speech. The NFL viewership is at an 8-year high. What is driving this? We're going to be talking about Thanksgiving and politics. We got Thanksgiving coming up in about a week and a half. Why are Democrats and Republicans pushing arguments over the holidays? I want to talk into that. Gavin Newsom cleans up San Fran for visit from China. Admits it's just for the visit. We're going to do some fun stuff about 14 exercises to increase your stamina. And then mortgage rates increasing to 8.5%. I want to dive into that because a lot of people are saying it's not a big deal. And I want to break down that.
They really are. I tried to look for articles and they're like trouncing it like it's nothing.
I want to bring up to the reality of what the middle class is having to face.
Yeah.
That just like we need to take a look at that because nobody's talking about it. We're also going to be talking about David Goggins puts Tony Ferguson through Hell Week. And Tony Ferguson says he's a changed man, and RFK Jr. is scoring endorsements from 3 high-profile athletes. So we got a lot to get into today, and I'm excited about to get into this. Real quick, before we get started, I want to share a message. So, what the purpose of this show and what our intentions are. So, we've started. This is our 4th episode, and nobody's watching us right now. Like, we've got 4 or 5 people who are watching us. That's it. We're on very few radars right now. But the radars that we are on have been vocal. So I've had family members reach out to me. I've had friends reach out to me and start to give their opinion, which I'm always open to opinions. And I always am looking for ways to grow. Having said that, I've got some good feedback. And I also kind of want to reiterate the reason why I started this. The reason why I started this is because I have noticed over the past 10 to 12 years, there's a lack of leadership that is going on in our country at the moment. And it has progressively gotten worse. It started with Obama, it got worse with Trump, and it's at worse now with Biden. You may not agree with what I'm saying right now. This is just what I am perceiving. It is okay if you don't agree with me, by the way. I'm totally comfortable with that. And the reason why I am saying these things right now is because I see that lack of leadership happening, and I can do one of 2 things. One, I can just put my head in the sand and pretend like it's not even happening. Or 2, I can speak and say something and hopefully inspire other leaders. That's what this is for. By the way, this show is going to inspire some people and it's going to piss off some people. I'm totally comfortable with that. The reasoning to do this is to challenge what we are thinking as human beings. There's too many people on the right who convinced that they're 100% right, and there's too many people on the left who convinced that they're 100% left. So for the people who are saying, Josh, you're out of your lane, stop talking about politics, stop talking about Biden, stop talking about Trump, I hear you. I know what you're saying. It's uncomfortable. You do not have to watch if you do not want to watch. Watch one of my other shows. This is supposed to be uncomfortable. And the reason why it's supposed to be uncomfortable is because I believe that America is still worth fighting for, and I want to push out positive energy. Will I change something? Here's the reality. Probably not. Probably not going to change the world. Probably not going to change America. But if I can change and inspire and help other people out, 100% I'm going to do that. I'm going to end that with what Patrick Bet-David read. And I just think it's a good quote right now for what we're going on with in America. You have no enemies, you say? This is a quote, by the way. Alas, my friend, the boast is poor. He who is mingled in the fray of duty that the brave endure must have made foes. If you have none, small is the work that you have done. You've hit no traitor on the hip. You've dashed no cup from the perjured lip. You've never turned the wrong to right. You've been a coward in the fight. My commitment to this show is to be someone who pushes boundaries, who speaks from the heart, and tries to inspire good leadership. I'm going to get a lot of things wrong. And I encourage you guys to point out the things that I'm wrong at. This is an open platform. I'm going to get a lot of things wrong, but I am comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with it. And this is hopefully to inspire other people to become better leaders. So for some of the people, some of the family members who are unnamed, who did not want me to move forward with this, I'm just getting started. So I just want to start off with that, so we're clear on where we're going.
Yeah, and by the way, I had people many times say to me, Jeff, I thought you were talking about running for president as a marketing thing. Like, you're not really serious, are you? And I'll say it right now. Vivek is running the campaign that I wish I could run. I'm not a communicator like him. He is a phenomenal communicator, whether you hate or like him at all, but it makes you upset. He is not afraid. He kind of has a little bit of FU money, can go out and run for president. I do not have that luxury right now. I'm starting a company. I'm with you. I actually thought, like, should I be commenting on this? One of the people that we just sourced a virtual assistant for, she is very much maybe more a socialistic on it, fair wages, minimum wage. That's what she's going through. And I think she's a great human being and a leader. One thing that I think that we've been privy to of us growing up is I had a side, our Thanksgiving dinner, we'll get into it, was all left thing. And, dad was always challenging everything. And my mom's side was always very right. So I got to see both in the middle. And I was the guy at Nancy's house when I was sitting down and they were reading on all the presidents. And I always had a fancy in politics all the time. C-SPAN, these people sit up and talk. This is cool. They make change. That's really what I thought until I realized how corrupt it was. And I was like, I'm done. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a politician first. Then I want to be a lawyer. And I want to become a teacher. And now I'm an entrepreneur. So with that said, it's crazy because now as an entrepreneur, I realize entrepreneurs are the ones who really change the world. But politicians, and a lot of these issues and what we feed in the media are the stuff that affects the narrative. So it's up to us, media, and God's given us a gift to speak. And I will not be silent. I'll never be silent. I will say I have become a better leader because of you, because of certain mentors, that it is. And I am super charged up because I know so many people say, hey, you really shouldn't be talking about this in business. But here's the thing. I believe this now, and I hope I'm wrong, and who knows, by 2030, if we don't change anything, we will not be able to even live stream where we're at now. So I'm glad we started the J&J podcast, even though it's episode 4, caused no traction. You're going to get it. You're going to get pushback. But I'm okay with standing up for what I believe in and taking takes on certain issues. Does it make me uncomfortable? Do I not know some issues that are talked about? Yeah, but I want to speak and listen clearly. And if anybody here wants to come on and really, I challenge to always to seek to understand all the time. One thing is I totally get how Aunt Nancy is. I totally get how Aunt Joyce is. I totally understand where everybody's coming from. There's a great book that if nobody's watched it, watched the video or read the book. It is called Changing the World Order. And it's about the left and right. And there's always a fight. And it's before revolution. And Jake Paul just said this. It was in a podcast I was watching right before I was getting ready for this. And he who showed Robert Kennedy Jr. how to use TikTok and said how he liked Vivek, and he's trying to urge younger kids to vote. This is Jake Paul, mind you, who went through everything in a great podcast. He is using his platform, his voice, and he goes, I know people get so upset about it, but I think America, this is Jake Paul saying, isn't going to be where it's going to be if we don't speak up about saying something. So with that said, I'm fired up too. Shout out to Lonnie, who's sending me a case of Alani Blue Hawaiian. These are actually pretty good. Blue slushy.
Good. Yeah.
I've never had one of these. These are great. I went downstairs and got them. Shout out to the mini mart down in Midtown.
Fantastic. Yeah. So listen, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. I'm not gonna be preaching.
Who was it? Can you tell me who it was? Who said it?
So it's a group of people. And I'll tell you off camera.
Maybe we should have them on, you know?
It's here's the thing. Most people are saying it out of love.
Right.
Like, hey, just be careful. Like, and then some people who are, close family members who are just challenging things. And I'm not going to get into it online because I want to stay respectful, but we'll talk about it after. We'll do one of those Joe things. I'll tell you later. So let's get right into today's show. I want to start off with two different things, two stories that are top on my mind. The first story is our boy Bernie, shout out to Greg, stopping a fight in the Senate. And we got to talk about this.
By the way, I'll go on record saying I like Bernie Sanders. I like the guy has energy. I like how he is, and I like that he believes in what he believes in. I have full respect for Bernie Sanders, even though I don't.
From Business Insider, Bernie Sanders stops GOP senator from fighting Teamster president at hearing. You're a United States senator.
He has a great voice. He's such a character, like Trump.
Bernie Sanders stopped a fight from breaking out in the middle of a Senate committee meeting on Tuesday when a Republican senator stood up from his chair to fistfight a labor leader who was testifying. We have video, by the way. The incident occurred during a Senate committee on health, education, labor, and pensions hearing titled Standing Up Against Corporate Greed, How Unions Are Improving the Lives of Working Families, where Teamsters President Sean O'Brien and other labor leaders were scheduled to speak. During the hearing, Senator Mark Wayne Mullen of Oklahoma read aloud a post O'Brien previously made to X, formerly known as Twitter, where he called the Republican senator a greedy CEO who pretends like he's self-made. So let's check it out. Let me make sure. Hold on one second. Let me make sure.
Watch on X. By the way, shout out to X and my man Elon Musk. He made it for the smaller content creators. The algorithm is going to be open source, and it'll feed us and serve us better. They're going to push out this stuff to people who aren't seeing it.
Like he's self-made. Sir, I wish he was in the truck with me when I was building my plumbing company. Myself and my wife was running the office because I sure remember working pretty hard and long hours. Pretends like he's self-made. What a clown. Fraud. Always has been, always will be. Quit the tough guy act in these Senate hearings. You know where to find me. Any place, anytime, cowboy. Sir, this is a time, this is a place. If you want to run your mouth, we can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on.
Big guy.
Oh, stop it.
Is that your solution,
Hold it. No, sit down. Sit down.
Okay.
You're a United States Senator. Sit down.
Active.
Oh, okay.
Sit down, please.
All right.
Can I respond, Mr.
Hold it. If
Hold
we
on.
can, no,
This is
I have
what
the
he
mic.
said.
I'm sorry.
This is
hold
what
it.
he said.
You'll have your time.
Okay.
Can I respond?
Oh, no, you can't. This is a hearing.
Dude, listen. All right. So a couple of things.
Shout out to Bernie, man. Maybe he is the one who could bring peace to the world. Who knows?
So, the funny thing is Bernie is almost like a caricature of himself. He's like, no, you sit down. You sit down right now. Almost like a Muppet. Yeah. And obviously he has some form of leadership because both of those two gentlemen listened to him and didn't go and start to fight. Mm-hmm. So I think this is a very interesting thing that I want to bring up because I think this is an important thing and I want you to unpack it after I unpack it.
I love how the guy cleared his ring. He took it off like ready to fight. It's the universal sign.
He's like, I want you to stand your butt up. He's like, why don't you stand your butt up? So this is what I notice is happening, and it's a trend, and we've talked about this before. Online, people have become more prevalent of how they bully other people. In fact, not only are they comfortable, but they see no repercussions of doing it. So listen, I don't care what two sides these guys are on, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat. All I know is one human being called out another human being and said, anytime, any place. And the person responded and said, this is a time, this is a place, let's go right now. Just like men would, right? And now they're ready to go up and fight. I personally have not seen this in my lifetime. I have never seen something happen like this in a Senate meeting, in a hearing where people are about to get up and fight. I've seen people argue. I've seen people get angry. Now, they didn't listen. I'm not trying to be like hyperbolic in the sense where they didn't charge each other. There was no fist thrown, things of that nature, but they were ready to fight. And this stemmed from somebody saying or having the comfort of saying whatever they want to say on social media, and it caused this interaction to happen. And I think we're going to see more of this as people just feel comfortable just saying whatever they want to say. How do you unpack this?
Yeah, I mean, but I think it is good that people can be comfortable and say what they say. And I do think a lot of times, it's funny, man. We've been solving things in the Senate without solving it many times. Like this was, if you look at the issue, it was about Teamsters Union and wage, right? This is what they're going back and forth on, right?
Yes.
And it's funny, Jake Paul was just saying, man, people shy away from talking about politics because they get so politically charged. It goes to blows, right? It's like, and it's funny because anytime I go to a bar, I start talking about running for president, right? All the time. And so then it leads to politics. And then we start talking because president's that. And president, like you just say you're running for president, it's very blue sky. But once you go deep and down into actual issues, people get passionate about them. Oh my God, how dare you not this? Under wage war, greedy capitalist, right? It's always like left and right, no matter what. You need both of them at the end of the day. I think it was actually healthy to see in a point that people I think more honest discourse of like, of more shout out to Bernie, man, being the leader in there and people actually having a point of where, I kind of miss the old days like Boys Town. You see the movie Boys Town and they put everybody in a ring and they go fight it out and they just clear it out.
Right.
Like, I almost wish we did that with all the political officers. There's a kid I talked to. He's an AI expert. His name's Pick Predicts on Instagram. Chris Pickett, really cool kid, very knows something. And he kind of said that. I said, dude, because he was talking about where the stage of the world's going, right? With AI and taking over and UBI, universal basic income. And he said, man, I feel like all the politicians just really need to like basically clean themselves out, right? So how about you take all of them and you just put them into we had Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg ready to fight. I think it would almost be I think it would be more controlled than what we're leading to is the Civil War. Instead of people going in, we're leading to 100% towards that. Kiyosaki said that. The media is filling the fines perfectly. Israel, Palestine, Ukraine, Russia, right? They're making us pick sides left and right. So why don't we just have everybody pick a side and then sell it like UFC and put it all that way anyway, right? That's what we should really do.
I think
everybody would feel a lot better. I really do.
I think some people would feel a lot better, but I also think that would be very unhealthy for the nation. Having said all that, it's funny because when you bring up the Boys Town thing, how like they just put people in a ring and said, all right, you guys figure it out. There's some truth to that because, Joe Rogan said something interesting on a show. He said, hey, it's funny when fighting is like the ultimate competition against men. He was like, because a basketball player could play it against another basketball player and the guy dominates him and he can always walk away and say, yeah, but if I took you in a fight, your ass would get kicked. Yeah. And with fighting, it's like once you beat somebody, it's this weird thing. You'll see enemies when they fight each other in the ring. And at the end, there's this mutual respect that's built. And I don't know where we are at a nation where do we have to go through that fight where mutual respect is built? I think we should be more evolved than that. I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine, and I'm gonna try and keep this as G-rated as I possibly can. But we were talking about how less evolved we have got as a society as we think that we have become evolved. So I'm going to give an example. My friend was saying, I got one of my Xbox like webcam, right? The PlayStation webcams, the Xbox webcams when they first came out. And he was saying, the funny thing is the reports I was reading is that people were flashing themselves on the Xbox webcams and the PlayStation webcams when they first got started. And I started to laugh, and I thought to myself, I was like, man, as evolved as we are, right? We're playing video games, we're playing with a joystick, then we're playing with a Sega Genesis, we're playing with a Nintendo, and then we're evolving through the whole entire thing. The point we get to a webcam, we totally go back and devolve. And now us as men are just doing the same stupid things we do and just flashing other people on webcams, right? So having said that, I think that's part of our DNA. I think it's something that's part of us that we're just going to be almost, what's the right word for it? Almost Neanderthal about some of the ways that we communicate with other human beings. But this is the thing that I think we do have. I think we have a deeper understanding of communication and love that if we lean into that a little bit more, we'll probably be better off. But I don't think anything, social media, I think all this stuff is just feeding anger and it's feeding hate. And I think it's making situations like this worse. And that's why these two guys are about to go fight. And Bernie Sanders has got to be the voice of reason.
Yeah. But I wouldn't care. It's social. Like, it's almost like saying, if you say social media is the problem, and listen, you can feed algorithms to do it. That's what Elon Musk exposed that more than offer that, he had to buy 44 billion for Twitter to show that they're actually suppressing Hunter Biden's laptop. And who knows what they're suppressing on stuff like that. I know when I talked, and I'm afraid to even say it, when I talked about COVID, I got suppressed on Instagram, right? So this is like well known that this is going on. I don't think social media is the problem. I think it's the problem is the people behind it who are literally uneducated to a point that then it leads to just silly name calling. And at the end of the day, if like even Elon Musk, and I love Elon, but for him to post a picture of Bill Gates and say this is the way to lose a boner fast, right? Or whatever that was, right? It's funny, but does it accomplish anything? Like, it's because they're both billionaires and they're both thought of as geniuses. And I love Elon. I'll take Elon over Bill Gates. Bill Gates every day. Like, I'm team Elon here. But I'm just saying, like, that's like, and it's trolling. It's funny in a point.
But that's like what we're talking about. It's like that them getting in a boxing ring and fighting things off. It's almost to that basic level of human instinct of saying, let's just fight this out.
And Elon Musk was just saying to Joe Rogan that Zuckerberg doesn't even use his own thing. He doesn't even tweet on Threads, right? And I went on Threads, and you see now Zuck must have heard it because he's tweeted on Threads now. He's or whatever it is.
It's crazy, man.
But it's funny, and it's funny because Joe Rogan's just very anti, and it's funny because Elon loves obviously he owns X, right? Twitter. He's all, and I predict this now, and I say it's good we're live streaming on X right now. X will be the #1 social media platform. I'm not just saying it because of him. They're actually making so many open algorithm changes, which is kind of what people haven't done. No social media has done this before. Gary Vee called this out, that if you had a social media platform that made it easier where everybody went to a billion, everybody use it more. And there's going to be certain things that are happening right now with the Twitter. They now have long form video that you can be on it. They're actually updating it all actively in with less people on the payroll. It's going to be the #1 thing. They're going to take payments on it. X will take over 100%. You can't buy stock in it right now because it's all privately owned.
I'm not X premium. I don't know if it's worth getting.
What do you mean, like the blue check?
Yeah, like the X, I think there's like an X premium or there's like an X basic or an X whatever it is. I'm not that. I want to look into it just because what I think is going to happen is X is going to become, if you notice what happens is there's a pattern with social media. Like Facebook was like the big daddy. Then it was Instagram. Now it's and then it was YouTube. Now it's TikTok, right? And I think once TikTok starts to die down, I think X is going to become really big. And then there's going to be a little bit of a dip in whatever the next company.
TikTok just came out with the TikTok shop where you can actually pay. It's actually really cool. Like, you can load mastery management on there. You can talk about your management and you just load your product and people can buy right from there.
Yeah, TikTok is doing a lot of things for creators, which no other, like YouTube hasn't even gone that deep.
Well, that's what, and we can talk about it in a later episode, but that's what X is doing now. X is doing more stuff with creators, having open dialogue, Mr. Beast, Marquise Brownlee, all these guys are in it. The X will be right up there with them. in the next thing. But what were we saying? We were saying something. I kind of got off. Oh, social media, the problem. Yeah, I think it's the people behind social media. It's uneducated people not knowing. Like, it's not even uneducated. It's people, because something like Elon Musk is very educated. If you led by the creed that inspire others always, you literally read by that. Everything you said was inspiring, right? Don't have anything nice, don't say it. I think the world would be a lot better. Actually, if you watch the Elon Musk, I just got caught up, Lex Friedman, he talks about how Israel should just be more kind and that kindness would win. It's crazy, but the way Elon says it.
So there's a belief that I've always had, and if you think about it to this ultimate level, and I understand, I'm realistic in the sense that the world is not utopian. However, if we lift each other up, no one can tear us down. So if we're constantly looking to lift each other up, and that is our goal, and everybody has that goal, oh, let me lift up this other person, let me lift up this other person, let me lift up this other person, no one's going to be tearing us down because we're all looking to lift each other up. The challenge with it is ego. We feel selfish. Ego. We feel selfish. I don't know how to get it off. Ego, selfishness, and we let that play in us. And trust me, I get it 100%. I understand that. We all have to fight that every single day. But I think we need to strive towards getting towards those things, especially if you want to lead other people and inspire other people like you've mentioned. But let's get into the next story because we spent a good amount of time on this one. I want to get into this one because I am passionate about this, because this is something that I've been looking at every single day. So I want to talk about mortgage rates. This is very important. The reason why I'm talking about mortgage rates is because people don't understand the underlying implications of what's going on with mortgage rates. Mortgage rates are increasing, but people's income are not increasing. So what does that mean? That means the cost of their mortgage payments are going to be getting higher. So that means they can afford the same amount than what they could afford last year or 2 years ago, but they're affording less house. So I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to put it up for numbers so you can see it. So let's say you have a loan amount for $240,000. Right now, for a 30-year fix, our average rate as of today is 8.5%. We're almost towards 9%. If you were, and that means your monthly payment for a $240,000 house is $1,846. So your rent, your mortgage payment is $1,800 for a $240,000 house. Now, let's say last year, let's just change the interest rates. Let's say last year, our interest rates are 3.1%. So you have a mortgage payment of $1,025. So what does this mean? This means you have $800 that you're spending extra for the house that you're about to get. Remember, the price of the house didn't change. Your mortgage payment changed. So you're spending $240,000 for a house, but the interest rate has gone up. So you're spending more for less house. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you could afford $1,800 of last year. So you afford $1,800, and now let's look at what a loan amount is. Let's say, all right, let's not even say 360. Let's say 400. All right, so looking at $1,700. If I did, I'm not doing the math as well as it should be. But we're looking at $1,800. For last year, you could get $1,800, that same price that we talked about, for a $420,000 house. What's happening right now at the moment is people are getting less house, but they have to spend more money for it. So people who are growing families, people who have a family of 1 kid, 2 kids, 3 kids, right now, if they could only afford $1,800, because remember, people's incomes level hasn't risen. Everything else has risen. Interest rates, the cost of food, the cost of gas, everything has increased. So somebody will say to me, or a real estate agent will say, hey, listen, and this is a great saying, and I don't fault this, but it's marry the house, date the interest rate. So it's saying you can always refinance, right? So let's talk about that. Let's say you have a $420,000 house, and that's the house that you want to get. And let's look at the interest rate. The interest rate, let's say the interest rate is at. Is this making sense so far, by the way, what I'm saying?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. It's funny because I was just thinking about buying. I have to buy some sort of investment. I'm going to buy a cost segregation thing. Yeah.
So we're at 8.5%. It's $420,000 house. Let's say a $420,000 house is the house that I'm looking for. It's got 3 bedrooms. It's got 1.5 baths. And it's $420,000. It has a finished basement. It's not that big. It's 1,500 square feet, but it's $420,000. I could only afford $1,800. But if I'm going to marry the house and date the interest rate, this is the house that I wanted. But now it's at $3,229. So when do the interest rates come down? No one knows. Historically, by the way, interest rates will go down right before an election because the president always shakes hands with the Fed and says, hey, listen, I want to get elected. Can you lower them down a little bit? Historically, there's always a little dip before elections, but then they always go right back up. The trajectories of them going up. So having said this, is if I were to get a house right now, if I can't afford a $3,229 monthly payment, or let's say I can only afford that for 4 or 5 months, what it forces me into a smaller house, or it forces me to see a house that's at 420,000 and say, listen, I can squeeze 2,800. So what I'm going to do is I am going to make an offer for 390. And that's 2,900, right? So the prices of houses are now going to dip and people's equity is going to start to dip because what's happening is people can afford less. So they're going to be offering less. The days of them coming and going over asking are not happening because people can't afford more because everything has increased. So I think this is something that people need to be aware of because it's a realistic boundary that everybody as homeowners are facing.
Right, we can search all the mainstream media news. They say, well, mortgage rates were 18. This is no big deal. They're really trying to downplay it for whatever reason. Like we're not in a recession. We're in a recession, by the way, but according to everybody, we're not in a recession. I know the GDP has to be down certain certain periods. Like we went in a recession during COVID, right? It was, I think, 3 periods the GDP has to go down. Here's the deal, though. What's the solution though, right? This is the problem. We're at it. Is the solution to raise minimum wage and influx companies? Is the solution for everybody to start their own business, which is what most people do. That's why the workforce isn't. People realize they're going to go set their own wage and they have to get really good at sales and marketing, which is why we've seen such a dip in the workforce. When we flooded everything with stimulus checks, so many people didn't come back to work. Where did they go? There's more business startups right now than there's ever been before. I know that the coaching business is trillion. Everybody's coaching. I'm in that space, right? Everybody's coaching each other. There's consulting businesses on it. And there's more startups struggling right now where they're at. So I think that the answer to it is literally, I mean, it comes down to this. If it comes down to making more money, you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, just because the payment was 1,800, like we've always had inflation. We've always gone up. You know, when they say, oh, with candy stores to be 5 cents. I knew back in the day when gas prices were $1.99, they used to be 25 cents or whatever, that we'd be at $8 gas. Like this is not a shock to me, honestly. Like the economy's always raised. Now, have we printed more dollars and inflated it? Hyperinflation's happening? Yeah, but like then we got to hyper how it work. Why I work all the time is to stay ahead of it, you know?
Usually what happens in a scenario like this is one or two things starts to go up, not everything starts to go up. So what's happening is it's bleeding middle America dry because they have to spend more on gas. They have to spend more on electricity. They have to spend more on heating. They have everything. The cost of everything has gone up. So the solution to this is how do we get more money into the hands of the American people? And for me, I think it's simple, but again, I'm not an expert. This is what I believe. If you want to get more money into the hands of the American people, is you need to start doing things that will lower the
I'm
cost.
listening.
I'm listening to Sari. So whatever we've done with the way our oil reserves are has been a mess. We need to figure out whether it's we're drilling on our own soil or whatever it is that we're doing, we need to make sure the gas prices can come down.
Well, the newest thing is green hydrogen, but no, go ahead.
So that's one thing that we can do. That will automatically take people's gas tanks from being $80 to $40 per week, right? So they're starting to get more money back. Then energy. How can we make sure that we decrease our energy? And then the price of goods. So one thing, fault him for what you may, what Donald Trump was doing was, hey, we're going to put tariffs on certain other companies so they can't overcharge us. Right now, America is just like we're being abused and bullied, and we're being overcharged for things. And I get it. I understand there was things that were going on after COVID and everything stalled. And now there's not a lot of people working. So the prices of everything is starting to naturally grow, but we're getting abused right now. So regardless if you like Donald Trump or not, the idea of saying, hey, listen, we need to make sure we put tariffs on things so we can actually afford the prices of things is actually not a bad idea, because then we can get more money into the pockets of the American people. And when there's more money in the pockets of American people, then they spend more money and the economy grows, and they can start saving money. They can start spending more money. They can start putting it towards things that are beneficial for their families, and families start to grow. But right now we're seeing a retraction, a complete retraction. And listen, I am sure there are many, many different ways to do this, but we just need to get more money into the hands of American people.
Yeah, and I think it starts with accountability. Accountability is everything, and it's accountability where they're putting tariffs. It's accountability on certain Americans getting back to work, making work cool again. Like the fact that so many people were able to get out of work. And like, I will say this, man, living in Miami and Florida, there's not as many now help signs as other places. And I'm right at the heart of it. Everybody's moving here. This is you are here. It's a very prospering, it's just different. Okay. So I would duplicate the economy of whatever they're doing right here to getting people in. It's not rocket science. Duplicate that in Connecticut, duplicate that in there, right? Whatever is growing, the economies that are growing, right? Duplicate that, right? And empower, I would put in a rule to make it easier on business owners to hire more people, right? Like a tax benefit for them. So this way you're incentivizing the business owner. Every single one of us, how all the money gets circulated is by an entrepreneur who gives out jobs. So giving them tax breaks so they can hire more people and employ more people is the way to go, because what that'll do is it'll have these, and listen, I understand there's checks and balances with corporations 100%, Amazon, whoever you want to say, taking advantage of everything. But these small business owners that are employing people, that's what we need right now. We need the business owner. Listen, there's 4 different types of people in the world. There's the driver, the visionary, right? That's what I am. There's the engineer guy who will sit there and solve the problems, right? There's the person who's going to be more, they're just going to be more balanced at everything, where they're going to look at both levels. And then there's the person who's, the inspirational guy and kind of just will go do the marketing stuff, right? There's different types of people, and you just got to source the talent of the people. This is exactly what we do for consulting, and match people on where they are, whether you're building a restaurant, whether you're building a social, whatever it is. Business is what makes America, America. And what we're doing is we're getting away from all that by basically just penalizing everybody, So it's not where we want to be.
So I think right now what is most important is that Americans like, if you're a middle American, how do you solve this problem, right? Like, that's what I tend to think. And I think right now it's learning to spend your money well and rewarding the companies that you believe in. And I'm not saying politics wise, but like
Bud Light.
right. Yeah, there you go. Because that's one thing. Middle America is like getting squashed out right now. And that's the reason why I'm so passionate about this, because people who want to buy houses can't buy houses right now because the mortgage rates are just insane. And it's not only just the mortgage rates, but it's everything else. So I want to get into the next story. The next story is going to be we're going to be talking about something that I think is a little intense, but I think it should be addressed. So following increase in hate and bias incidents, Governor Hakul deploys additional staff to Joint Terrorism Task Force. So the New York governor invests $2.5 million to deploy additional state police investigators in NYC, Albany, Buffalo, and Rochester. After Hamas terror attacks, the New York governor is focused on protecting at-risk communities and condemning all forms of anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. So the governor today announced that in response to a rise in hate crimes and incidents of harassment, the state of New York will increase staffing to the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force. The New York governor has directed an additional $2.5 million to the New York State Police to deploy 10 additional investigators in New York City, Albany, Buffalo, and Rochester, ensuring the state police has a presence in all JTTF investigative groups and areas. I immediately deployed the New York State Police Department on October 7th, surging resources to join the Terrorism Task Force in a critical step to ensure New Yorkers are protected from domestic and international threats. We're committing to driving out hatred and discrimination from our state and ensuring that all New Yorkers are protected and supported. This new investment will allow the New York State Police to act as a force multiplier for the JTTF, ensuring that all cases of New York State ties are thoroughly examined and investigated. It would also strengthen ties already existing between the JTTF and the New York State Intelligence Center Counterterrorism Center, allowing for greater involvement in investigations into racially motivated violent extremists, domestic violent extremist groups, anti-government, anti-authority violent extremists, as well as into conspiracy theories and disinformation, misinformation. So what I want to get into this is a great way to greenlight taking control.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, though, one thing I said is we do need accountability. So much for defunding the police. We just gave $2.5 million to it. There is, right now, because of what the media and what's going on, because of whatever happened with Hamas and Elon Musk said this. He said, man, Hamas is doing exactly what they wanted. Like, by them doing this, they're getting the reaction they want, because now they're reacting to it. Like, a terrorist wants more terror, right? What are they getting now? More universal terror. So they're winning the more we do all this. So now you're getting this all spread out, right? We just saw in the last episode, people are tearing down American flags, right? There's all that. People are hating America. You have listen, there's anti-Semitism. They're going to report spots of it everywhere, right? It's all politically charged by what people see. If people see stuff, okay, they're going to do stuff. Like, whatever you feed your mind, you become, all right? And a lot of times with the slippery slope here is 100% accountability. Having more police and more accountability is actually a good thing. Believe it or not, it's great. You need that. Where the slippery slope comes from, and maybe we could have one of my former friends who's a former New York City police officer. I talked to him. He said, Jeff, I feel more like I'm helping than a New York City police officer. When he called certain things like Ethan Hawke training day, that he was not part of the NYCD police. They made him go hush hush, disbarred him, and put him on a badge, put him away where it was horrible. And so there's a lot of people, even in the whole police where we're at, especially New York too, when they do this, I'm with you. But here's the thing: if they're gonna all of a sudden say, all these conspiracy theories become such this is the slippery slope. We say something on here, all of a sudden now, let's say we're in New York doing this podcast, they can come shut us out because we're spreading hate by our message. And it's funny to go back and watch the movie Revelation and Haters, right? Everything in here, it's feeding toward that funnel. Now, on the surface, looks good. I actually think we're okay. We need to hold people accountable. We cannot have people tearing down flags. We can't be anti-Semitic. Boom. We cannot do that. We're going to need more police officers to do that. Where it gets troubling is people speaking the truth on stuff, which what's the truth anymore, right? That's what it is. But that's what Vivek's whole campaign is about truth, right? Holding people accountable on that. It's leading to a point where all of a sudden they can say, well, that's a conspiracy theory, you know?
So that is my concern with this. And my concern is that it's such a brilliant tactic of taking one thing and then being able to slide in something else. So if I'm saying to you, hey, this person's abusing you, or if this person's doing something wrong with you, and that person agrees, then I can also add on other things. And because they're abusing you, that means that we should probably arrest them. Yeah, that's true. And if we should probably arrest them, that probably means we should put them in prison for 10 years. Yeah, that's true. And anybody who supported them, we should probably put them in prison, right? Yeah, that's true. And what that is a byproduct of taking something that is important, but also being able to slip in something to manipulate people so people don't realize what's happening at the moment. And listen, I'm not trying to say like, hey, there's a grand conspiracy theory, but they're just pointing it out. Hey, listen, if you are spreading conspiracy theories, which the crazy thing is half the conspiracies that came out regarding COVID were right. It came from a lab. It came from the Wuhan lab. The vaccines didn't work as well as we thought they were going to work. All the things that were like misinformation came out to be true.
YouTube now said you can now talk about it not being good. They finally did after they censored all Dr. Robert Green.
And listen, I'm not faulting anybody for not taking the vaccine or for taking the vaccine. I'm just saying at this point, it's almost common knowledge of like, hey, listen, it didn't work. How do we know the vaccine didn't work? Why? Because we have to take a booster every couple of months. And the original vaccine that you couldn't get into any buildings with is now we're taking all these different boosters to make sure it did work. And listen, I'm a little biased. I will admit that. I do not like pharmaceutical companies because, listen, I see what they did to Jay. I see what they did to other people. There's been a lot of destruction of lives from pharmaceutical companies. So for us to surrender to pharmaceutical companies and say, oh my God, you guys are amazing. To me, it's like, how could you be that blind? Like, listen, they also destroyed people's lives as well. Like there has to be some type of balance. Anyway, having said that, and I don't want to get too off onto that because, again, that's going to sound like conspiracy theories. I think you always have to keep an open mind to what's going on, but also be careful of what people are censoring, because when people start to censor things, I've noticed those things start to turn out to be true. And I want to share.
Yeah, what's the Shakespeare quote?
Thou doth protest too much. Meaning, you're protesting too much, something's not right.
By the way, the COVID was a big example of that. Every time someone spoke anything against that, maybe this is a natural remedy, that they shut it down. And then that's what made me be like, okay, this is wrong. And everybody now, the trust in the government's the lowest it's ever been now.
And you would think, if there is things that are working out for a vaccine, if there are things that are working out that the election is completely fair, that you would have some semblance of balance and saying, hey, listen, I'm sure there's things that are going that are bad, but this is 98% is good. But what happened is when people started to protest too much, like Shakespeare would say, oh my God, like when they would say the election is the fairest election ever. I think it was the fairest election ever, or whatever it was.
It's almost absurd.
Listen, here's the thing. Trump lost. He's not the president. Biden is the president. I fully admit to that. But the problem is when people say it was the fairest election ever, anybody with half a brain goes, listen, there was not one person out of 360 million people who was like, you know what, I'm going to vote twice for Biden. I'm going to vote twice for Trump.
Especially after the onslaught. They just tried to kill Trump all those years, hate or love Trump, with the Russian collusion. Vivek pointed out to, and I was actually watching today, that clip of him has gotten retweeted beyond belief, of him saying, go, say it to Kristen, whatever her name is, at MSNBC, because she pushed it. So they pushed this whole narrative that it came out not true. If anything, it was more true for Hillary being in bed with Russia for anything than that. Okay. It's been proven. And then on top of that, okay, he points out that, so that's it. Elon Musk spends $44 billion and gets Twitter to prove that they've actually suppressed. And I could care less about Hunter Biden. It's a sad story, the whole thing of his thing. Actually, I'll tell you this. I went on a date with a girl who was friends with Obama. This is a true story, right over here in Miami. She's friends with Obama. She had a picture with Obama. And I'm telling her, I'm like, they're not going to really run Biden again, right? Because now she's totally left, socialist, the whole thing. I'm totally right on this point. Not totally right, but more bipartisan. But I can have a civil conversation and everything. So I'm on the with her, and then I say to her, I said, she's like, well, Biden has a brother. And I say to her, I go, well, why don't they run him for president? He'll be better, right? And she's, oh no, he got in trouble. And then she started like listing off this, like he was an attorney, but he like lied about his stuff, like all this, like just really bad stuff. And like Biden, by the way, I'll say this time and time again, Biden is probably one of the most racist and presidents we've had, with the crime bill, with saying you should put them back in chains, saying if you don't vote for me for a black. I'm very passionate, and listen, if I ever become president, I'll get rid of redlining. I'll get rid of a lot of different things that don't make it fair for Black Americans in America, and we have a whole history of it. And I'm very passionate about it. And people say the thing is, the fact that you called Trump, who Trump said, what do you have to lose, right? Which was probably the most simple way, and then got Candace Owens behind him, where she voted for, she was all Obama, totally flips, does Brexit, and does this whole movement, okay, to get it back, whether you hate her like Candace Owens, shows me that right now where we're at as a country is that there's all this stuff. If the media or social media in certain ways doesn't like a narrative, they're going to censor it. That's what's going to happen. So the reason why I think the J&J podcast is so important, and even to take this realm and not just talk, we could always talk, Jake Paul fights, UFC, and just have a fun time. But honestly, that's like all the distraction. No offense to Dana White. These are the real issues here that get people to understand and lead and stand up for what you believe in. Like, that's the most important thing, right? And at a time when they're trying to push so many things and make you choose a side, really know that if you really stand up for exactly what is good, right? What is actually the right thing, which is, having a family American, having accountability to your God, right? To something like that. And then a knowing, always seeking the truth, right? And not being so politically charged or anything. That's what will really save this nation, okay? Going back to family, being accountable to your God, and always seeking the truth, right? Because the truth then will set you free. And there's been so many distortions of the truth now, time and time again, even with the 2020 election.
Yeah, and I love it. I love everything that you're saying. I listen. This world is we're pushed into two different corners. It's either you're right or you're left, or you're black or you're white, and there's a lot of middle ground. There's a lot of like being able to find the 101% principle, find 1% that you agree on, and give it 100%. And I think we need to start doing that. And I kind of want to summarize this by sharing these lyrics from our boy, Tom McDonald, because we're talking about hate speech. And there's a song called Fake Woke. Listen, you can like Tom McDonald, you cannot like Tom McDonald, but I think it's crazy how these people screaming facts, but they fake woke. Hate their neighbor because he wears a mask or he stays home. Has a daughter, but his favorite artist said he slays hoes. Picks her up from school, music slaps on the way home. Censorship's an issue because they choose what they erase. There's a difference between hate speech and speech that you hate. I think Black Lives Matter was the stupidest name when the system's screwing everyone exactly the same. I just want to spend Thanksgiving Day with food in my family without being accused of celebrating Native casualties. We've got so divided as black and white and political. Republicans are bigots, libtards if you're liberal. There's riots in the streets and it's just getting worse. You're all screaming defund the police. You're all genius for sure. They're underfunded already. They're way too busy to work. Order food and call the cops. See what reaches you first. And the crazy thing about that is there's a lot of nuggets of truth in that. Like, we're just fighting against each other, and like there's all these things that are happening, and there's also these things we're fighting against each other, right, on this pattern. And then above us, all these little things are happening, and we're just so unaware of it because we're all fighting against each other.
Yeah, the one thing I will push back, and that Tom McDonald song is again, he says, Black Lives Matter is the stupidest name when the system's screwing us all exactly the same. The one thing I will say is, and you can go look this up, the Black Lives Matter thing, it's so horrible that this is actually a cause when they actually decide to promote, and there's probably more people that unfortunately are not getting the footage like George Floyd that actually do die all the time unjustly. Okay, this happens across. It's happening in Colombia, Medellin when I'm there, and people get shot and nobody walks away from it because they have no police. It happens. I hate to say it in America. Okay, when we take a cell phone, we get a picture and we plant it, and whatever it's George Soros funded or whatever it is to fuel the flame, and then we start an honorable name like Black Lives Matter to just show this thing. We have everybody fund it, and then it goes to it's the worst thing in the world, right? Everybody gets duped again. And here's the thing. The system is not exactly the same. One thing that's great about America is we can all get here. Someone can swim to be here, and we can start. And if this was a race, we'd all start at a different point of a race. Where we started, we didn't start in the most richest place. We started a little bit beyond, right? But the skill sets and everything we're at, if we all started a race, okay, and someone started like ahead here, and here, right? And we're all running this human race. It's our God-given gift with my skill sets of where I am to reach back and help somebody else out. That's all that it is, okay? And you have to do it in certain ways. You can't do it just by just saying, hey, well, we're all the same, you can all work for it. No, you got to reach back and help. I have certain skill sets that I can help people. God's given me skill sets I can go back and help, right? And that's the thing. And I have certain skill sets that can do it. And same thing. And you got to make people useful. Even the person who maybe started the race back here, they have skill sets they can be useful. Because the biggest thing in it, and listen, don't even get me started on disability and certain things of how we fund disability and we keep people down in disability. I understand people are born with, such disadvantages, and we need to fund and take care of healthcare. I totally understand that. But I also think when we cap someone's income, okay, which is socialism, which is what we're going to, universal basic income, we're capping their growth, right? A tree can grow anything but a tree and only can grow that far. But humans can have unlimited potential. Look at Elon Musk going out there. Look at Bill Gates with whatever he's trying to do. He's trying to fund another vaccine and let out mosquitoes to kill everybody, right? These guys, he could be a mad scientist if he wants, right? Whatever you want, you can go do. And what we do is we hamper people's growth by feeding them junk on the TV, by feeding them whatever it is, the latest Netflix, the latest TikTok, right? I don't know if TikTok should get banned, but I do know that certain countries do it better where they actually, they just, like, TikTok is not, it's not the problem. It's more the people who watch it. What?
This is my belief on TikTok. You drive a car without a seatbelt and you get into an accident, you're going to get hurt. You could get killed. That's why we enforce seatbelts. Mm-hmm. There's some seatbelts that need to be enforced with TikTok. It's just that simple. Like, listen, it's a tool. And if you use it too fast and you don't use the type of protection, it can be very dangerous. So we just need to enforce some seatbelts. Not saying that we need to completely suppress things, but there needs to be some accountability.
Well, so here's the thing. This is the one thing that if I was president, I would do this. We used to have, when I grew up, they wouldn't even talk sex on the news. They tell kids to leave the network on it. They protected like the kids. Now you can see pornographic, basically images on TikTok, no problem. On Instagram, you don't even need to watch porn. It's all out there, whatever it is, right? 100%. We're beginning to desensitize it. Where's it? But we're going to see false information on everything on Instagram before it's something in here, but we won't censor the Instagram OnlyFans models, okay? You know what I'm saying? We're showing their clothes, we're doing it on TikTok. We're gonna feed that to everybody for this. This is the same stuff that when I was there, you couldn't watch any of it. You know what I'm saying? It was a JCPenney catalog lingerie thing back then, Now it's everywhere.
Well, right, 100%. I'm not talking about the censoring of those things. I'm actually not talking about censoring. I'm talking about sharing data. That's one of the things that is very worrisome with me with TikTok. TikTok is sharing data, so we need to restrain that a little bit.
Oh yeah, because China made it. China, by the way, shout out to China and Russia for being very astute to our weaknesses and being able to take advantage of it many times, and Ukraine in that matter too.
Dances, and their kids are listening and learning how to build things and become engineers. Let's go on to the next story. I want to go on to the next story because this one I think is pretty interesting because I also have not a story, but like some personal experience doing this. So the next story that we're going to get into is Gavin Newsom, our boy from California.
Which he will run for president. I'll put a bet on it right now. He is running instead of Trump.
He's way better than Biden. I think he'd be a way better candidate than Biden. That's my
By the way, I don't know how he wins, and he's gonna win. Like they'll rig the election for him to win right now if they want. He's
Biden?
a little bit more healthy. What?
You're saying Biden.
They'll rig, yeah, they'll rig the election for Gavin Newsom to win.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Like, I think most people would be, anybody with half a brain would look at Biden and go, this guy is not there. He's struggling right now. There are things that are going on. I don't know if I can vote for this guy. Now you're going to have your diehard leftist people who are going to say no matter what, right? Blue, no matter who, right? And
I like the color blue.
What?
I like the color blue.
So do I. So I think that it's just going to happen. But I think as time goes on and Biden starts to shake hands with more invisible people, and as he starts to stumble more and more, he's just going to start to lose voters, right? As a leader, you don't inspire people by tripping over things and showing complete incompetence, because people look at this person and go, oh my God, I think I could do a better job than that. And I'm not fucking smart, right? So I think that's what Biden is. Unfortunately, whether or not he wants to or not, I think that's what's happening right now. If they put Gavin Newsom in, that solves all their problems. He is way to the left, extremely extreme. However, he is competent. He's a good speaker. He's a great communicator, and he's competent. He can speak. He can have a conversation with somebody.
Yeah, he's your typical. He's your Bill Clinton. He's suave. He's all that stuff too. It's funny. Grant Cardone. I don't know if you saw the video with Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone was sitting next to him in like Malibu in California, and he turns to Grant Cardone and goes, "Hey, Grant Cardone, I can't get away from you on Instagram, and now I can't get away from you here." Totally. And Grant says, "Man, I'd vote for him. He was so likable in that little bit of it." You know, this is what Grant Cardone says. Who knows if he'll run for president? Grant has a better shot to run in 2028.
So going back to Newsom. So Newsom's getting under fire because California Governor Gavin Newsom has come under fire after admitting that San Francisco was cleaned up ahead of the arrival of fancy leaders for annual Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Leaders Summit. San Francisco is hosting the summit, which opens Saturday and runs through Friday. So I don't know if they'll have the video here, but so what happened is, and listen,
They talked about this on the PVD podcast, didn't they?
I don't know if they did just yet, because this is pretty new. This was yesterday, so they might have. Newsom apologizes. Yeah, so
I know folks say, oh, they're just cleaning up this place because all those fancy leaders are coming into town. That's true, because it's true.
Dude, he reminds me of Matthew McConaughey, does he not?
Yeah, it's true. Oh, yeah, because it's true. Now, I give him credit because here's the thing. I worked at a restaurant, and what would happen is the big wigs would come in. The people would come in, and everybody would do their dog and pony show. They would start ordering all these nice little things. They'd start ordering new cutting boards, the artist new cup racks, brand new cups, so everything looks fresh. So when you serve everything looks good. And I worked for the restaurant industry for over 10 years, probably, I think, close to 15 years. And probably more than that, actually. Yeah, more than that. So what I saw was a pattern. And that every single time bigwigs came, everybody spent money to make sure that the bigwigs thought that we were running things smoothly and that everything was clean. When the reality is we were just cleaning up after each other. All the cups weren't brand new. All the plates weren't brand new. All the cup racks weren't brand new. All the cutting boards weren't brand new. And the districts of operations, the area managers would come in and say, we did this now when they came in, and let's keep this. Let's keep this as something that we will do. And we would go, oh, yes, absolutely. We're committed to doing that. The challenge is there wasn't enough labor to do those things. There wasn't enough money to do those things. We would overspend when the bigwigs came.
Stay later. By the way, I step in, I think at Stop and Shops, people are coming. Stay later to clean up the. Remember,
so you're spending more in labor, you're spending more in materials, you're spending more in labor, materials, you're spending more in either it's food cost, or if it's a grocery store, you're spending more in food costs. Make sure everything's stocked and looking good. You're spending all this money to make it look like you are doing something. And I always was surprised at the fact that this was just a repeating pattern, because they would say, oh, we keep it this way. And I was like, well, if we keep it this way, we would need to spend more money. We need to make sure our budget was higher. We need to make sure our labor budget was higher. And we need to make sure our food cost was good as well. So if we were to do this and pretend that this is a reality, this snapshot that we're presenting to people is a reality, we actually need to increase these three things. And they would say, yeah, Josh, you're crazy. We're not going to increase those three things. We're not going to increase labor. We're not going to increase food costs. And we're not going to increase material costs. So just make sure it looks like that way, with less amount of labor, less amount of food costs, less amount of material costs. So what I realized is it was either one of two things. One, it was complete ignorance by the company. Or two, the way that they actually kept the restaurants clean were doing these visits and imposing influence on other people to scare people into spending extra money and to cleaning things, because otherwise people won't do that. And this made me think really what leadership was about. If the culture was set, people would take pride in what they do, and they'd make sure things were clean. They'd make sure that the material costs were up to snuff. They would make sure that the food cost was good and that everything was stocked. The challenge is, if the culture is not good, you're going to be running into exactly what Gavin Newsom is talking to, cleaning up to make a good show. And that's what Gavin Newsom is doing right now. San Francisco is a shit show. Walgreens and CVS have things put behind chains, because when people walk in, people steal things so much. So things are
probably, and by the way, that's a big answer to defunding the police. So Sandy, if you know Sandy, she lives in San Francisco. I said, how is it? People told me it's like Mad Max to live there. Don't go there. San Francisco is by the way one of the most hailed, the bridge, the whole thing, the hailed cities. I've never been there. Okay. I don't even want to go right now. Maybe they cleaned up now, we go. But like, it's all standards at the end of the day. Like, here's the thing. Let's look at it this way. Apple the store, great culture. You go to Apple store, they're all clean, right? Their products are good. The people are whatever else. It's a standard of culture. Chick-fil-A, right? Standard culture. Everybody's present. That's their standard. Now, do they maybe have to clean up stuff as well as they go, and they lower the standards for it? But San Francisco, all of California, LA, there's so much homeless. There's more homeless than it's been. I don't know what's going on over there. How Gavin Newsom is going to even win presidency when the state is like in decline, and he almost got. They did an emergency election to try and to see if he was really the governor, right? That's how bad it was, right? And now it's this swab guy going in, being honest, hey, yeah, we're cleaning up because of that. It's just poor standards on everything going forward. Listen, Midtown Miami, where I live right now, what saved it, okay, is this was a crime area, by the way. 10 years ago, you come to Midtown Miami, it's the most beautiful place right now. It was not that. What we have, they spend money to have 2 police parked outside here so nothing happens. I feel safe when I come here. It's a beautiful street. There's all these shops, the design district's right here. It's bougie, right? But this was not it. And here's the thing. You go to Beverly Hills, Century City malls, there's more things of people smashing all these designer brands, taking stuff out in California than there is right here in Miami. What's the difference, right? The difference is that the police, we have police on the corner, we have rules and law of it, and we don't have unreasonable homeless like they do in San Francisco.
So San Francisco, you're looking at this chart right now. Larceny and theft is up year over year. Right? So you have 27,000 from last year and 31,000 from this year already. And we're pretty much looking at a year at this moment. So the challenge with this is why did this happen? This happened because San Francisco stopped prosecuting people if they didn't steal over $1,000. So you just gave a green light to everybody who says, hey, listen, I want to steal. They're not going to prosecute me after $1,000. So I'm going to walk in to any Walmart.
Wait, what are those numbers on? Because they have sex trafficking. Is that just one person?
This is all of San Francisco.
I know it's all of San Francisco, but my whole point is like I feel like they've really suppressed, and everybody is mad at me for talking about this, but in Connecticut, there is human trafficking and sex trafficking going on the Berlin Turnpike.
It's reported. You're 100% right. It's human trafficking. And let me see if I can.
I'm just trying to think, is that just one report in the year, or when's the DRN? I just am
14, 15, and then 1. Yeah, it looks like only 1.
So I just think here's the thing, and I hope those are numbers. I don't hope it's any more. I just think there's a lot going on in California. We're funding money, and there's not a lot going to a lot of stuff that's not being reported.
Yeah, I think right now what's happening is, and this is crazy. Why is Gavin Newsom trying to make everything look good for Xi Jinping?
Yeah, because he wants to get in bed with China so he can win the election, and they'll help with all their TikTok data.
That's hate speech. That's a conspiracy theory.
I mean, it makes sense though. China probably doesn't want Trump to win, right? I wouldn't think they do. Trump kind of made it living hell for China. I personally believe that and Vivek said this, that China needs to be accountable for COVID-19 of the thing. This is what he said. Trump called it the China virus, right? Whatever you want to say, wherever it came from, right? I do not think this is even conspiracy theory or whatever. I think it's because Trump made it so hard on China. Why wouldn't China make a biological warfare thing? This is just common sense to tank our economy because we started making it tough on them. That, like, I know that sounds really but that doesn't even, that sounds like totally reasonable. Like, we're making it tough. We're going to make this thing. We'll make everybody sick. It'll tank your economy, which it did. Okay. It'll do the whole thing because Trump played hardball with China. So Trump actually, maybe to all the people who don't like Trump, was probably the cause of COVID because he was hard on China and China came back with that. Like, that is a plausible thing that if I was China, I was getting, all these restriction tariff and not doing all this. Yeah, 100%. So do you think China is going to want Trump to win again after all this? No, not at all, right? Trump made it living hell for them, right? Right now, they can have whatever they want. We have a weak leader in there with Biden. It's a matter of days before they take over Taiwan. We're all the semiconductor chip. They make them in San Francisco too. That's another place. One of my buddies lives out there. That's all he does is do it. He was trying to leave the job and start his own business. He's like, oh, there's so much political stuff on it.
Say what you will about Trump. And listen, this is me saying I'm not a fan of Trump. Because when it comes to the hierarchy of human development, he's on the arrogant scale.
Oh, definitely. And he has dictatorship stuff about him.
So listen, here's the thing about arrogant people. They can get results, but you always got to clean up after them that they get the results. The thing that was good about Trump is at least people feared him. People didn't know how to handle this guy, right? With Biden, people do not give a shit. We're viewed so weak right now. And it's so sad. As for somebody who is an American, I've always been proud to be an American, and we're just looked at as a very weak nation. And it's sad because we embody one of the strongest things ever, and that's freedom. That's the ability to be free. And that's so hard. That's so hard to fight for. That would mean by cause, we are stronger. And unfortunately, we seem to be weaker. But I want to get up to the next story.
Well, really quick though, do you think Vivek, if he won, he would be a good leader and strong enough against everything? People would fear him.
I like Vivek. I think he's got a lot of good things. I think he has a lot of good qualities of leadership. The true test of leadership is seeing if their walk is in line with their talk. Because anybody can talk a good game, and Vivek talks a very good game. He's an excellent communicator, probably the best communicator that we have running. Better than Newsom, better than anybody on the Republican stage, better than anybody, better by Biden than far. But will he actually walk the walk? I know he's talking the talk, but will he walk the walk? And if he was elected, we would see. I think he would, but I don't know, because people are human beings and people have egos, and they're susceptible to bribes. They're susceptible to other things. Because remember, Trump talked about draining the swamp and getting rid of a bunch of other people. Biden talked about all these amazing things that he was going to do. And the one thing I will say Biden's team is a genius on is they know how to preach to middle America. What they do with their policies are extreme. Absolutely extreme. Having transgenders come to the White House, putting somebody who is a non-binary person who steals clothing, is putting him in their cabinet. It's all done for political reason. It's all done for woke reasonings. It is actually not a good look. If you hire people and you hire incompetent people, it's a bad look on leadership. And that's what the Biden administration has continuously done. I don't care if you're a Biden fan or if you're a Trump fan. It's just look at the record. It's what they've continuously done. The challenge with that is what Biden is very good at is as soon as he gets up in front of people, he speaks what he's got to speak. He speaks to politicians. We're not going to do that. We got to speak. We got to talk to families. We got to make sure the families are protected. We got to make sure that we're protecting the right people. And then people go, you know what? He's not that bad. And the Biden administration is great at it. Excellent at it. It's what he did at his State of the Union speech. It's what he did when he went against Trump. He acted, hey, I'm not that. Oh, what are you talking about? I'm not that crazy. And Trump was going nuts on him. Everyone went, this guy is nuts, lunatic. And then as soon as Biden got into office, we've got what we've got. Economy in the drain. World War III. But Ukraine.
Yeah, but I don't think Biden did anything. I really do not believe, and I'll go on record that Biden got 80. It was the most popular president all time, 83. Unless people really hated Trump that much, which is possible. Let's say everything went up and up, and it is that this guy who really could barely put a car rally of people honking horns got the most. The one thing I will say on the caveat side, as much as you want to say something about Biden and his whole team, Trump electing his own cabinet and arrogant people, having Steve Bannon in there and people turning left and right on him and him calling him out, right? I do expect if Trump wins again, which I do believe Trump will win again. Like if Trump gets to the point to do it, right now where America's at, I think he'll win. I think that people see it egregiously. Just the average people that I talk to. Now I'm in Miami. There's more Republican people here that like Trump. Okay, that's kind of risk. More so than Ron DeSantis, even though we're in Florida. So right now it's a very Trump thing. Just talking with people on the thing. It's just more that way. I don't know where it is in that generation, but Trump basically whoever he put in his cabinet, I know he tried to do it differently. It was kind of a shit show. You know what I mean? You had people
100%. So listen,
entertaining, like you had people bagging the staff, and he's right.
Okay, so Biden failed as his cabinet because he hired people who just couldn't even do their job. Trump did something even worse, and this is a bad measure of leadership. He did not hire for position. He hired for people who inflated his ego, who said, hey, yeah, we'll do this, and you're great, man. And then they just turned their back on him.
Yeah, because they had egos too. Because here's the thing, whoever you are, you attract who you are. So when you're a high ego thing, like Steve Bannon, that guy has a high ego too. Like, who are we kidding? You know what I mean?
Everybody in Trump's cabinet who he hired has a high ego.
Right,
Yeah.
because by the way, you ever see a really good performing sales team? I was talking about this with Caesar today. Anderson Windows Sales. We were talking on Windows stories. These sales guys get crazy results. They'll say whatever they are to make sales, right? They'll inflate each other's egos. The worst thing to be a sales manager, because the guys who are those sales guys are usually pretty good communicators and they can say whatever they want. You'll attract that. It's a shit show of people to have. That's why really having generally good-hearted people who care, who are good leaders and seeking leaders, which is what you taught me to do, is phenomenal. People put themselves' interest above it for somebody else is what leadership is, putting it before. There's a great ad by Patrick and David. I played it at our meeting today, and it was about business planning. And everybody said they were looking for, I want to play it at the end, actually. Did you see the ad or no?
I think I've seen it a couple of times.
So he says, everybody's looking for a good running mate. How do I find a number two? He's like, who in your circle are you a number two to? Who can come to you, right? Meaning like show empathy back. It was a really good ad.
All right, so we got a couple more stories. I want to move on. So we've got RFK Jr. scores endorsements from 3 high-profile athletes. Maybe you can pull that one up, and I'll pull up NFL viewership at an 8-year high. I want to talk about that because that is something that I find unique when it comes to NFL viewership. I don't watch football anymore. I used to. The Giants are not good, so I'm not losing anything. The teams that I do like to see win, the Bengals and like Chargers and what are the other teams that I like to see win? I used to like to see Green Bay win. They're whoa. Oh, you're sharing your screen. Okay. Yeah.
Before this, actually, Robert Kennedy Jr. made news for accused by podcasts of going and playing bathroom barefoot. I could see him doing that. He's just a little bit of an interesting guy. But here's the thing. You don't know any of these guys except for maybe this guy here. This is John Stockton.
Oh yeah, I remember John Stockton.
Yeah, I don't know who this guy is too. This is Kent Rutgers. These are older guys in the thing. They know JFK. It's his older base. But Stockton believes Kennedy has been put on this planet for just this moment in time, and there's a real need for him in his leadership. Here's the thing. There's a need for very smart people in these positions that have integrity that is off the charts, and that have the stamina, strength to be able to speak, be a leader 24/7, not just on occasion or on blip, Stockton said, which is taking a shot at Biden there. And maybe more than anything, a person that can undivide this country, the NBA legend can do. I don't think we've ever been this divided. You look around, you see all the difference. We were pulling us apart. He said, finally, we have, I think, the right man that's available again. What an opportunity to bring us back together. So here's the thing. I'm actually I actually like Robert Kennedy Jr. I think he possesses a lot of different things. I don't think we'd be, I don't think we'd be horrible. I'll probably go to the town hall that PPD is going to have. I'm going to drive thing. I don't think we'll be horrible to if he won president. I don't think he has any shots being independent. He's had a horrible thing where he's going for. I feel like he's an old school good Democrat, like the Democrats that weren't bad, not this crazy left. Did you see Judge Joe Brown on Patrick and David? Any of that?
Saw a little bit. I haven't watched all of it.
He basically said in the beginning, well, the Democrat Party wasn't what it is. This whole left-leaning, far left stuff is not because he ran as a Democrat. So did Les Brown. I don't think that just the word Democrat was never a bad word, okay? And even Republican, but they're both bad now. They're both fed up. This is why we're moving towards that. Like Republican and like people like Nikki Haley were funding wars and doing this and lying about 9/11 and lying about all this stuff, right? To then Democrats who are now on the same thing. They're both the same. So like average American kind of can see it. There's nobody either to trust. And the good thing about Robert Kennedy Jr. Is it Jr. or no?
Yes.
Yeah, the good thing about him is he's seen both corruption on both sides. So he calls it out for what it is. And he's just your old school Democrat where if like, if I'm trying to think who's a decent, like, I don't know, like JFK, right? And any of those guys been. So, and like, we need an outsider. Trump's an outsider, Vivek's an outsider, Robert F. Kennedy. Everybody else inside, those are the 3 people that are outside.
Like RFK. So this is where I would be right now. Just being completely honest. This is just Josh Lewis speaking. I would feel, and as soon as I speak these words out of my mouth, I'm like gonna want to take them back. But I would feel so much better if Biden wasn't president. And I would prefer if Trump wasn't.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Just because Biden, we know, is not competent. We know whoever's running, whatever's happening, it's a bunch of people who don't know how to lead, and it's a mess. We're practically getting into World War III. The borders open. It's just America last. It's not America first. It's America last. Every self-interest first.
Sending money to all these other countries, but our own.
Correct. We
Like,
don't.
what with the economy? Like, dude, what if we did a stimulus check, which was probably the worst thing, but they did a stimulus check for whatever Trump. That was when Trump was in here, by the way. They wrote a stimulus check, just they did one with Biden too. I think it's the worst thing, giving people free money. But like, we can give whatever it is. How much billions did we give to Ukraine?
I think it's over 120.
Okay, imagine if we gave 120 billion to America and divide it all against America. Just pass the ball for that. You know what I mean?
I think it's 70 billion that would help cure homelessness. I think is the number. I could be wrong.
And it all starts with their mindset. People, if you give people money, they're not going to know what to do. They'll wind up right back where they are, right? So it's education too. You can't just.
I agree. Yeah, like listen,
Right.
you need money to people, and
But if you took, let's say, 70 billion and you put it in different programs or different businesses to employ jobs, you did it in a different way for America. You cleaned up some streets, you built some
got people to halfway houses. You got them built onto programs where they're progressively moving forward and they're growing and they become addicted to that growth. Instead of
got fentanyl, not FDA approved. Fentanyl's FDA approved. More people are dying of fentanyl than they are the COVID pandemic. We don't talk about it. That's FDA approved right now. That's what Jay passed away from.
I know. And you know what's crazy is so where I live, Connecticut, in my town, 2 people were caught, and on them they had drugs. They had an abundance of fentanyl on them. They had some cocaine, but they had an abundance of fentanyl on them. And like at this point, this drug has now become to the point of where like it is mainstream. It's the main thing that is infecting our nation. Like it used to be cocaine. It used to be, Xanax. It used to be the pills. It used to be Percocets. It used to be those things. But now fentanyl is just taken over.
But the first time I heard about it is when we lost Jay. Like, I think I might have known it before, but I didn't really know about it. I think that was the first time I heard about it. 2016 is when Jay passed away.
And if you saw, that's when the rises were from 2015 to 2016, 2017. If you look on the fentanyl chart, it starts to go like this. And now,
yeah, go ahead.
2018, 19, 20, it's like just like it just went straight up.
Yeah, the one thing I will say, at least Trump that did speak to, he talked about this, about how this is a huge thing and we got to address it. And like the first thing is that it's not approved by the FDA. Get it out. Like, I know, like, listen, I understand morphine and all this stuff is like, medical marvels. Listen, back in the day, it's all messed up. People used to have natural childbirth. When we were caveman, we had to get rid of toothaches, however they did it that back then. We figured it out. You can do it without all these high profile drugs that they're just pushing to. It's really killing America. Like it is. And if I become president one day, I would do something about that. Or governor or anything,
Problems with the pharmaceutical companies, they're financially incentivized to keep producing these drugs. And if they're financially incentivized, then they're going to keep on doing it. Because if I'm financially incentivized and I need to make money for my family, for Colton, for Ashley, I'm going to keep on doing it. And that's what they do at a base level. And then that's times by millions of people. So what happens is when people are financially incentivized by things that are bad and they affect people poorly and they can kill people, people are still thinking, I know this might not be good, but I still have to feed my family. And that's, I think, the problem that we're at with pharmaceuticals, because people are thinking, I know this might not be good, but I still have to feed my family. And
I know, which is why I think really making work good again in America, so people work, is the answer. You know what I mean? Like, you can't like just not work and do that, and defunding different programs. All right, what's the next story?
So I want to get into this very, very briefly because I want to talk to you about this, because to me, I don't watch football anymore. I used to watch football. I used to love watching football.
Well, I
And
will say I like Tua and I like Miami. I'm down here in Miami. I guess they're doing okay, you know.
through 3 games, Thursday night football averaging 14.4 million among total viewers, an increase of 19% versus last season's 3 game average on Prime Video, and 67% versus 2021. Thursday night football's 2023 3 game average is up 48% in total viewers over last year's full season average. So, what do you think is the reason why NFL, the ratings,
Taylor Swift dating Travis Kelce.
is Taylor Swift bigger than NFL? It wasn't long after the Swift and her fans, known as the Swifties, reminded everyone that the singing icon is much, much bigger than the National Football League.
Yeah, she packs out stadiums easier than the Chiefs do. But I do believe I mean I don't believe that hurts, right? Having Taylor Swift and bringing a lot of Swift fans over to her.
So if you're a Taylor Swift fan, and listen, Taylor Swift writes great music. She has consistently wrote over her career to the point where, like, I mean, I don't really listen to it, but like if I ever hear a song, I'm like, that's catchy. Oh, it's Taylor Swift. That makes sense. And she has now packed out stadiums. She does a show that's a 3-hour show that people have gone, oh my God, this is amazing. So let's say you have how many millions of Taylor Swift fans, and they find out she's going to be on Thursday Night Football, or she's going to be on a football game. They're going to tune into it because they want to see Taylor Swift. Why? Because Taylor Swift does something very, very good, and I want you to speak about this. She's very good at marketing in the sense that, have you ever seen Taylor Swift's social media?
Yeah.
Very quiet. She shares things because she's so big. She will share things periodically, every 2 months. Then when she needs to promote something, she will. Then maybe something else. She uses the scarcity tactic very well. And what happens is the people who go, oh my God, Taylor Swift just posted. This is amazing. She just posts on Instagram. Instantly, within seconds, 200,000 likes. Then within a day, 1 million likes, right? Because she employs that scarcity tactic. So I think what's happening is this scarcity tactic that she naturally employs is now translating over to the NFL. Because if I'm a Taylor Swift fan and I love watching Taylor Swift, and she only posts every once in a while, and I know if I'm going to go see her show, I'm going to have to spend $400. If I know I can just turn on my TV and I can see Taylor Swift, dude, I'm going to do it. If I'm with Taylor
I mean,
Swift.
I don't think that's the main reason. I also think there's been a lot of NFL players who've been outspoken about their faith more than I've ever seen, by the way. Tua, all these guys too. There's another guy, Jalen Hurts, all these guys, okay? More so than that. I think that's given a good thing. And I also think, and by the way, I'll go on saying that Colin Kaepernick was probably the worst vocal point, but I think it was a very peaceful protest. I know people get really mad at me of this, even though he was the worst person for it, but nobody, because NFL, he brought politics into it. That's why people didn't want to turn it in, right? He made politics in sports, which mixed it, and people didn't like that he made it political. I was actually okay with that. I'll go on record. I always get a lot of pushback from that. There were a lot of injustice going on, okay, and he decided to do it. There's different ways to protest. That's why he did it. It was un-American. Was he the worst person to do it? Yeah. But it definitely made people, it caused the whole thing where people didn't want to watch it. We've gotten away from that, right? And then the way they endorsed it and did this whole thing, and people started taking knees for the flag, that doesn't happen anymore. And then Roger Goodell is a horrible commissioner where he's a weak leader in that point of, oh, I don't want to make anybody upset. I don't want to make Belichick upset. I'll just, they cheated, but I'll delete the tapes. Like, there's no accountability for it. So there's been a lot of things. I think we've moved past that. Right now, where we're at, it's a fresh face. There's a few fresh faces in the NFL. Obviously, you have Taylor Swift coming in there. You have certain teams coming back. It is, you know, you have, what's his name? What's the guy's name? The Chiefs quarterback.
Mahomes?
Mahomes, very entertaining. He's the new. You have a new Josh. What's Bill's quarterback name? I forget his name. Josh Allen. These are new faces now. They're the new Peyton Mannings. It's the new era, right? It's more watching people in the thing. So they do. I don't even watch football as much as I did. But I do notice what happens. There's been some crazy ending games, all winning by 3. NFL's always had that, So I think they've gotten rid of the political. I think adding and having likable superheroes, likable people in it, it helps.
The NFL, if they want to succeed and win back my viewership, which they don't have to win back my viewership, because I'm more concentrated on spending time with my family, reading a book, things of that nature, instead of spending all Sunday watching football.
You know what Thursday night football game's on this week?
I don't.
I think I looked, I saw it somewhere. It's the Bengals versus the Ravens, I believe. So it's Joe Burrow.
That's a good game.
Yeah, and then Lamar Jackson. Yeah.
The funny thing is the reason why that's a good game is because of history. History proves that, hey, Bengals versus the Ravens is always going to be a good game, just because they're division rivals. So I think the way the NFL could continuously win back my viewership is, number one, the Giants need to get their shit in gear, and number two, I think, balloons.
How does that happen?
I don't know.
I don't know how you put on something.
I don't know. It's natural reactions. So the Giants need to get their stuff into gear, and NFL just needs to take a step out of politics. And they've been doing that. I've seen like the sides of the end zones, saying like the Black Lives Matter or, the pride things and things of that nature. And they're just doing the trends, what everybody else is doing. And sports doesn't need to follow those trends. Just keep that shit out of it. And I'm not saying you don't have to not support pride or not support Black Lives Matter. It's just, it doesn't need, like, sports is, the nice thing is it's not politics driven. And unfortunately, those things right now are very politics driven. So just take it out of it. The nice thing about UFC, this is like, there's no politics involved. Like, even if these guys come up and they say some type of speech, it's like, okay, all right, good, boom, done. But it's not like, hey, by the way, make sure that we're doing whatever it is. All right, so we're wrapping up towards the end here. We got a couple more stories that I want to move on to before we end. Do you want to talk about Elon Musk showing off the Tesla Cybertruck?
No, we can say that for next time. I think that'll be done. There's a big thing happening in Vegas with an F1. I thought it was in Vegas, but it wasn't. So we're in 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay, so what's
cool. We should actually do the timer for each story and put this on,
It's not a bad idea. Yeah, you're right.
I'm looking at all the AI plugins on Zoom.
Let's do 14 exercises to increase your stamina, just because I think this is, listen, I want to preach good things to make sure that we as a nation are, there you go. So,
You hear the music? Can you hear me too or no? But I can't hear you.
you're sharing computers.
I am.
You can't hear me?
No, I can't actually. That's cool. This is, I should show you this. Zoomtopia. This is all, we can actually play around with this. These are all in by.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about 14 best exercise to increase your stamina. Why are we even talking about this? Because my natural inclination is that I always want to be healthy. If I'm not moving, I'm dying. So for me to share this with you is just a reminder to me to be moving consistently as opposed to not moving, and B, to keep Jeff entertained because he's changing his background right now. All right, so these 14 exercises are going to increase your stamina. So steady state cardio. Jeff, have you ever done steady state cardio before?
No, I don't think so. What is that?
So basically, that is staying at a certain point of a heart rate and just doing that at a steady state. So making sure your heart rate gets to 120 and just managing that for 20 minutes. So to do this form exercise, the target heart rate between 135 to 150 for 30, 60 minutes, several times a week. Goblet squats. Have you ever done goblet squats before?
I have. I do them every day. I do legs. It's a part of my 5-minute workout.
They take out a lot of you. They can really just.
Yeah, I'm doing it tomorrow, actually. Tomorrow's Wednesday. I do legs on Wednesday.
Slide board mountain climbers. I don't know what this is. Oh, I think this is. Oh, you move your feet up and then you go like this back and forth. That one's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Let's rate these on a scale from 1 to 10. 10 being fun, 1 being not fun at all.
Okay.
Farmer's carry. You know what farmer's carry is. We used to do this with Dan. You just walk around the gym with
weights.
Scale from 1 to 10. What do you rate it?
I don't know. I did those with Sayuri. So got broken heart. Probably like I don't know, like a 8.
Yeah, I would say a 7 to 8. Those are fun. Walking. Scale from 1 to 10. I give it a negative 10.
You don't like to walk? What if you walk next to a girl you really like then
my wife, and I walk next to my son, and I still that makes it worth it. But I'm going to be honest, I do not like walking because we used to have to walk to work, and I told myself I would never walk to work ever again once I started to become successful, and I just don't like it. So yeah, that's me. Bear crawls. I don't know what bear crawls are, but I'm going to give it a solid 5. Crawls can improve your strength and endurance. Sure. All right. 5. All right. Kettlebell swings. Have you ever done kettlebell swings?
Not really, no.
I have. They're actually fun. I would give them an 8. They're fun.
Maybe I'll do them tomorrow after goblets. Then.
Sled pushes. I would give that an 8 out of 10. I like sled pushes.
I did those with Sayuri too. These are all Sayuri workouts. This is breaking my heart here. Well, I did those at LA Fitness with her. There's a video of me doing them.
You know, people do these exercises without other people involved, right?
Yeah, I know, but then I'll think they actually have a sled here. They have battle ropes here at the gym here,
Battle ropes is fun. I really didn't feel like it ever did anything for me, but I would.
Neither did I.
Give it a 7. Dumbbell walking lunges. Ooh, great exercise. I'd give it a 4 though.
Yeah, I hate doing these, but again, did these with Sayuri too.
They build up everything. Body weight rows. Never done these before. I don't think they do anything, to be honest.
Yeah, no, yeah, I don't know. But I guess but the whole point of the article is exercise to increase stamina. So I guess they do increase stamina, even if they don't feel like they do anything, it gives more stamina, which is good. Maybe I'll try this before we do the next episode tonight because I'm always kind of fading. I get tired at right around like 9 o'clock. I start to like get ready for bed.
Shortly. So rower intervals. So I love rows. If you want to give your stamina versus row intervals, they're just talking about. That's interesting. I love rows. Jump rope. Scale from 1 to 10.
I'll give that a 10, man. I still have fun jump roping. Well, ever since I was boxing, they made me jump rope every single day. It was fun. I actually got pretty good at it at one point. We have a short jump rope here, but I do want to get another jump rope. I love, you can do jump rope tricks. My buddy Jerry Malcolm does jump rope. I love jump rope, man. I'm not going to lie.
So I give it a 6 out of 10, but because I like jump roping, I'm just not good at it. Swimming. What would you give to swimming?
Oh, dude, I have the beautiful pool here. I actually, every day I would probably give that a 9 or a 10. I love swimming. Sure, I love being on the floaty, but I like swimming. I love doggy paddling.
I would give it an 8 out of 10 as well. What's a group photo? They want us to take a group photo?
I don't know. I'm just messing around with all this stuff. I don't know what a group photo. I don't know what that did.
I don't know. I don't like it. All right. So Jeff, what else you got before we wrap this up?
Nothing. Just when are we gonna do the next episode so I can promote it the right way?
Yeah, good
Call
question.
me after, and I want to find out who was talking that they're trying to suppress our voice.
No one. It's okay. You know what? I don't even think I'm gonna tell you anyway. So but keep it in the dark.
And there's only gonna be 2 people.
Listen, family cares.
Mhm.
They do. Friends care. They do. Most of it was said out of love. I don't think people understand my personality. They just don't at this point. You know what I mean? They don't understand where I'm at and who I'm at. And I don't want to be somebody who's not being a positive voice in this world, especially for my son.
Well, like I love what Lex Friedman does. If anybody has it, Lex Friedman, I think, is a very positive voice. It's a little dry, right? But I think he means the best intentions, right?
Yeah, and I think people are just afraid that Josh is just going to put a target on your back. And yeah, that's true.
That's anything with any type of branding or marketing, you know?
Yeah, I think that's
I've already survived so many haters, JT Punk, all these guys, right? Guy called me a scam. I've survived all that, you know? And that thrives me. I need that. I love that. I love the people saying you can't do it. I need the enemies. Like, by the way, did you watch the 10 Enemies?
I watched it whenever it came out 9 months ago, but I need to rewatch it again.
So that's what the business plan is about. They're going to build it around there. I know it's funny because Patrick and David just sells the training of stuff that he's already put out and he makes people do it. It'll be cool. I bought a ticket. I'm going to it.
All right. So let's do this one. Next one. Let's see. We could do it. What's this week look like for me? I don't know. What's this week look like for you?
I have a very busy day tomorrow at 9:30. We're onboarding a VA. Eunice for the girl works for Harvard. Then at 10 o'clock I have my meeting. 11 o'clock I'm meeting with George for a presentation.
Thursday.
So
Let's plan to do Thursday. If we don't do it Thursday, we'll do it either we'll do it over the weekend. All right, this was good. Good job. We had a lot of energy. We added a lot to the audience. I hope the audience won. I know you and I won because we spent time with each other and we spoke about some cool things. I feel like I'm in Miami with you. So let's do this again. Hopefully in the next few days. If you guys
I love doing this. I'm so glad we did this anyway. I can't wait. I know it's the 4th episode. Dude, pretty soon I'm gonna have podcast studio, I'll live stream, I'll have another camera. That's what I work for every day. I read it. So it's cool to have this, but we're gonna have it a lot more and I can't wait, you know.
And I'm gonna get like a nice podcast thing going on as well. It's cool because like I figured out how to broadcast on my TV. So if I wanted to do that, I could do that.
My TV doesn't work. I gotta talk to the guy. I want to do that as well, you know.
All right, man. Love you guys. Have a great night. Be powerful. Lead people in the right way. You have no idea the power that you have inside yourself. It's time to bring it out and be a good inspiration for other people. Jeff, what do you got to add?
Yeah, no, inspire. There's always lead out there, inspire. Don't be too quick to react to anything that you listen to all the time. You know, we do talk headlines and stuff out there. I just acquired a press and podcast company to really put out a better narrative, and we're gonna see what we can do on that. Maybe we'll be reading my press too, but even don't react to us. Go do your own independent research and really trust your gut more than ever before.
All right, you hear it, guys. Everybody have a great night. We'll see you later.